All right, here they are, the iPhone 16 range. They go on sale this Friday the 20th. I've got all four of them, and I want to run you through the core details, what I've noticed using them, and whether or not it's worth upgrading to the iPhone 16. I actually think this is the most desirable upgrade Apple's offered in a long time. And I think Apple knows that this is the kind of phone that iPhone 12 and 13 users might be considering, as well as anyone with anything older than that, iPhone 10, 10s or 11. This is your time. This is the time to upgrade. The iPhone 14 or 15, it's a much different sell. The real sell there is going to be Apple Intelligence. And let's hit that right now from the start. Apple Intelligence is not available when you pick up the phone on Friday or it gets delivered to your home. And it won't be available for a few months. Here in Australia, it'll be enabled around December in a software upgrade. It'll be enabled for US English if you wanted to switch to that, probably in October. And I've got to tell you, it is a compelling reason to upgrade. I ran Apple Intelligence in beta for a few months before, or a month or so before the iPhone 16 was announced. And I truly believe that it's the best use of AI in a consumer technology gadget like a phone that I've seen. And I've seen a lot of gadgets, I've seen a lot of AI, but it's just how it's more meaningful, how it adds value to your life by summarizing notifications, summarizing emails so that you know which ones to hit. You know, just doing things that are useful to you rather than being something that you can reach out to if you want it. So park Apple Intelligence there. I might come back to it at the end in terms of why you would upgrade. And let's look at what we've actually got. So here they are here, the iPhone 16 and 16 Plus. This is the teal or green, and this is obviously pink. And I got to tell you, it's probably the most desirable pink they've ever made, mainly because it's a nice washed out pink on the back because it's a matte finish, but it's a bold pink within the camera, and it's a little bit more purple on the edges, I would say. The teal or the green is more of a Tiffany blue or a Tiffany green because it doesn't scream green to me in person. And the blue is a much more, I think blue is probably the most vibrant choice outside of pink maybe, but the green is a probably very neutral choice there. Now you'll notice straight away that on both of them the cameras are now vertically aligned. Now this is not new, that was the way of the iPhone 10 and 10s, so it's not new, they're not copying someone else there, although many others do vertical cameras. The reason for the vertical cameras is actually this, the ability to shoot spatial video. So if you had cameras on an angle, like on the iPhone 15s, on the standard models, if you're shooting spatial video, which is essentially 3D video, it's a bit out of whack. So by straightening them up, you're getting a proper 3D rendering of the scenario through spatial video, which is all enabled for Apple Vision Pro. They're a gorgeous looking phone. They are the same essential design and feel as the iPhone 15s, a little bit more rounded on the edges than the iPhone 12 and 13 and 14, and that's essentially what you get with the difference. Much more durable than ever before. Every year Apple adds a little bit of durability to its back and front glass, but in the end they're a pretty gorgeous looking device, and screens are big and vibrant. Nothing to complain about here when it comes to the screens on the iPhone 16. Moving on to the Pro models, you've got your iPhone, and this, just to be very clear why this one looks different in apps, this is the one I've been using primarily as my phone for the last week now. Now this is remarkable here, these are enormous, okay? This is a 6.3 inch screen and a 6.9 inch screen. These things are big. The phones themselves don't feel big, but the funny thing is I've been using a 15 Pro Max for the last year because I wanted the 5x zoom, but I prefer a smaller phone. This doesn't feel small. It's smaller for sure, but that is a big unit, and it's a big screen. You'll see there the bezel or the black line around the screen, not quite as big as it has been before, and that's essentially the boundary that Apple's pushing year on year. I love the airdrop keeps happening on these too. I don't know if you can clearly tell here, but this is the natural titanium, and this is the new desert titanium. It came up in leaks and rumors. Maybe this is a better, tighter shot here. This is the natural, and this is the desert. I would argue this looks a lot like the rose gold phone of years gone by. It came out in leaks and rumors as being a brown phone. It is not at all brown. There's nothing brown about it. it to me feels like the rose gold phone with that kind of cream gold look back. But they call it desert titanium, and so be it. I'm rocking the natural because of the size. I don't mind the colour of the desert in any way, shape or form. Let's come back to the Pro in just a moment in terms of how it sits differently to others. But the standard iPhone 16, one of its core features is of course the camera, and you can see here, big lenses, and that is enabling a 48 megapixel fusion camera. Now what that means is it's essentially taking a photo with both lenses and fusing the information together to give you better density, better clarity, better color, all those kinds of things. Look, I can't say that it's noticeable to me, but I do obviously see that they push the boundary every single year. The thing you'll notice as a standard user, not a pro user, is ultra wide now has autofocus. Ultra wide also now has macro, which I think is huge. One of the things you get though is you do get, let me launch the camera. You do get the option of a 2x telephoto zoom. Now that's actually not a telephoto lens. There's no third lens here. That is actually a crop. So it's taking the 48 megapixel, if you imagine this is a 48 megapixel shot, what this is doing is cropping to the inside and taking 12 megapixels of that and giving you an effective 2x zoom. Not a bad thing to do, pretty smart way to approach the camera design. One of the things you do also get, and very difficult to demonstrate as a single individual here, but when you have a video that you've recorded, yada yada yada, when you go into the edit settings, there's the ability to look at the audio mix. Now the audio mix, this is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I'll check. I did film a video with my kids. I'll watch it and see whether it's appropriate to be used in a video like this. And if it is, I'll insert it here.
So basically what I was saying is...
And we're talking over here.
Yeah. Decomposition
so we'll see whether that works.
Chemical soil decomposes. So basically what I was saying is decomposition is where chemical soil decomposes.
But basically what happens is, when you film a video, this has got enough microphones in it, that it can essentially see or hear who's in front, who's behind the camera, and then you can choose, after the filming, you can choose to highlight the audio of the person in frame, do a studio style recording which essentially crisps and cleans up all the audio, or gives you a cinematic approach which does bring in the surrounding environment and environmental sounds, but just neutralizes them so that the people in the frame actually have the focus. It's very cool. It is very cool, and it's very well done. I personally normally always use a microphone when recording with the iPhone, but I can see the benefit of this in any way, shape or form. I think one of the unwritten joys of the iPhone 16 is actually that it's got Wi-Fi 7 on board. And I've got a Wi-Fi 7 mesh Wi-Fi system from Orbi, Netgear Orbi at home, and that means that what I do, this phone connects essentially on another level to every other device in my house. So you get that kind of super highway of free traffic on a Wi-Fi 7 network. So if you can get Wi-Fi 7 wherever you are or wherever you're connecting, then you'll get the benefit of just slightly better speed and connectivity. I do think this is a great upgrade for anything. I certainly think 12 backwards. And, I would argue if you're on a 13, that's probably a 3-year plan you've been on. Not a bad time to upgrade. Pro models, of course, add more power, more performance in the chipset, and there's nothing to frown about there. They pack a lot of punch. I have no issues with the way it's performed and how snappy it's been. I've not been playing any radical gaming, but I can tell you right now that it's meeting all the general needs that you'll have on a smartphone. What you do get, I mentioned the colors, and I'm going to get to the camera control in a minute, which all of them have. You get these enormous screens. You get a much better battery life. I would say it was fascinating to me looking at my battery usage yesterday. I really did drain down. Now, I started the day at 2 a.m. and by, I would say, let me see if I can work out by looking at it there. I would say by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I was starting to freak out. I was getting to low battery mode. Now that's a long time. That's 15, 16 hours of constant use. That's a long active day for me. And what was fascinating was that it was actually primarily things like the actual screen. So the home screen itself was chewing up a lot of battery, as was the camera, because I was testing that a bit. I make a lot of phone calls on a Tuesday, and then social media really kicked in. So what I learned from this is I need to probably, look at my maybe low power mode on busy days to bring down my screen brightness and things like that in general usage. But again, it's it is hours better than the previous generation on Apple's testing, but I don't think you're going to broadly notice much of that. One of the key features of people doing video, other than the audio mix, is 4K 120 frames. And one of the great things about that, if I shoot a little, let's go up the top here, 4K, and let's choose 120. Okay, so we shoot a little bit of 4K 120 video, all very exciting and wonderful. But then what we can do is in the post, when we go into the edit, we will have the option of looking at the different speeds. So you can choose to watch the video at 50% speed, 25% speed, and you can dictate that in different portions as well. So you can adjust all the fine settings of, just like you could before with slow-mo style video, you can have it working at full speed or bring it down at whatever speed you choose, but film it at 120. Which is pretty cool, and that's it comes up very, very nicely. The audio mix, again, is fantastic. Now, aside from Apple Intelligence, the big selling point of these devices, without any question, is right here. It's the new button. This is the camera control button, and I'll demonstrate it quite simply, really. So here it is on the side. If I push it, instantly the camera launches. Okay, so and let's just test that. This is in a locked state, so the phone is locked. Push the camera, launches the camera. Now obviously for many years you've been able to push and hold this button to do that. You used to be able to swipe to do that. I get it, that has existed before, but the simplicity of just pushing that button, come on. Now my big takeout of this is it's perfectly placed for a right-handed person to do selfies. See, so it's perfectly placed to take selfies. It really is. It's a really good spot for that, but that's not its primary purpose. Its primary purpose, in my mind, is general camera controls. So you'll see here when we're in any mode, what we can do is we can tap on it, and it takes a bit of getting used to. I'll be honest. First couple of days, in fact, the first time I touched it, I thought it was not a great user experience, but I've learnt what the touches are. You kind of gently touch it, not a half press like on a traditional camera, but just a gentle touch. It brings up this little menu here, which allows me then to do things like zoom. So you see that all I'm doing is swiping. Now I can tap it again, double tap to bring up a separate menu, which is the other settings. Okay, so I've got exposure. I can click in on that and change the exposure. I can double click, I think brings me back to the main menu again here. I can do depth on photos. I can do zoom. I can do choose which camera. So this is by flicking between the two cameras, and then I can do photographic styles. Let me get out of photo mode, and let me get out of video mode, take you into photo mode, which again will show you those extra things. So you've got photo styles and tone, so you can change the tone if you want to change skin tones and things like that. All these settings are right here for you to muck around with, as you would on like an SLR. Now these photographic styles are a whole other part of iOS 18 on iPhone 16 that photographers will love. And I think if you've ever taken photos of people, you've noticed skin tones maybe aren't exactly what you thought they'd be. That's what photographic styles are all about. I'll leave it to a photographer to deep dive into that for you. But I got to say, I'm liking what I see with this here. I like the idea of it. It's working well for me, especially for zoom. That's going to be your primary thing. The ability just to do, and by the way, you quick swipe to go between the lenses. So a quick swipe takes you fully between a lens. You'll see that going through the 5 and then all the way. Let me take you back so you can see which lens we're on. This is on the digital zoom. Or you slow swipe, just slowly, gently swipe to go at your own increment. So quick swipe takes you back to a lens, and a slow swipe takes you between the lenses. And I think it works really bloody well. Is it a reason to upgrade? No, I don't think so. Is it cool? Yes. Is it better than the action button? Yes. And by the way, iPhone 16 and 16 Plus now have the action button. So that's the button instead of instead of the silence ringer, the toggle switch, you've now got the action button to customize what that's for. I think 99.99% of people make it to activate silent mode, which is totally fine. I think the camera control button is better than that. I think the camera control button is better than the touch bar on a Mac, which is probably what some people would relate it to as a kind of new way of doing things. But yeah, it works really, really well. They are powerful. They are gorgeous. They work really well. iOS 18 is beautifully, deeply integrated, and it's a great operating system. But the reason to buy the iPhone 16 is Apple Intelligence. And it's a reason not to rush out, but you're not going to get a better deal in 3 or 4 months. You're actually going to get the best deals right now. The trade-in offers are phenomenal among the telcos. Vodafone's offers are wild. You can now get a $0 iPhone if you trade in and go on their $79 plan. I can't even understand how it works, but they essentially credit you the plan fee and you're trading in your phone. It's wild. So there are some really good trade-in deals. So if you've got a 12 or a 13, now's the time to go, hey, Telstra, Optus, Vodafone, Apple, whoever you're going to, here's my phone. What can I get? And that's a much wiser way to approach this, but it does leave you without the ability to hand me down your phone to another generation. iPhone 16 goes on sale on Friday. This is $1,399, $1,399, $100 less than last year, and there's a broad either price pause or drop on nearly every one of them, and I think that's good news. I think that's great news. Apple could have easily just kept the prices as they were, and that'd still be a good news story, but they brought them down because of currency fluctuations and the like, and they should be credited for that. Great price, great phone. My pick is actually the base 16s, because you do get a good 2x zoom, you do get Apple Intelligence when it comes, you do get the camera control. The only thing you miss is that 5x zoom. Obviously, there's a bunch of other core little things, but in everyday use, the reason I go Pro is for 5x zoom. And when I'm watching kids sport, baseball on the mound, 5x zoom, it's an absolute winner. All the details and a full review online, but make your own decision on whether you're going to get the iPhone 16.